Hey everyone, Mrhappy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mrhappy, aka Mrhappy Mondays, the weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. It's going to be a fun week, I think. After that most recent live letter, I expect a handful of questions and topics to be coming up a little more frequently than I would care to answer them when I don't think they're that big a deal. They're worth like a brief discussion, but not everyone's going to hear my voice the first time around. So I expect some live letter related questions, maybe some other things in the question section below. I haven't actually peeked this week, so I'm not sure what to expect. Another thing that's going to be surprising, this will be the last week you see me with this hair. This hair has been too long, for too long. I didn't even want to grow it out this long. I wanted to cut it ages ago, but then every time I did, A, I got too lazy. B, people be like, no, don't cut it. I'm like, fine, I guess I won't cut it. You know, everyone was like, no, you gotta keep it. You gotta keep it. I'm not buzzing it again. I'm going to cut it back to where it was probably about a year ago, about like 10 months ago. So Sophie was going through some pictures. She's like, that's a good length of hair. And I'm like, yeah, that's the length that I was thinking as well. So it won't be all the way back to the buzz cut. That I promise you. Not like it matters. Like if I wanted to, I could, but I don't want to. But yeah, anyway, let's get into the Q&A. I actually have a little bit more than an hour until stream, so I kind of want to zip through this one. Shout out, by the way, to the sponsors, of course, as per usual. Patreon, anyone supporting over there, it's optional. I don't pay gate any content. I just don't think it makes any sense for me to do. But there are some people over there, and I appreciate them. Also, SteelSeries. Somebody had said my SteelSeries discount code wasn't working. That is fixed. There was just a back-end system error that I don't think anyone's discount codes were working for like a few days. So SteelSeries has been awesome and supportive of me, even through all the move and all the other stuff that I've been posting about. So if you're ever looking for gaming peripherals, have any questions in the weekly Q&A, throw them in there. Discount code Mrhappy, save you a decent chunk. If they have better discount codes, that's fine, but make sure you use my affiliate link all the same. So I get the credit. So they know that you found it through me at the very least. Anyway, let's get on to the Q&A. Hashtag Mondays with Mrhappy. Hello there. Hi. Seems you're doing all right. We love seeing that. Yeah, my legs are sore as hell because, like I said, back in the gym. It's nice. Seeing you light up around the Tactics Ivalice Chronicles was a delight as well, and I wanted to get more of that. I noticed that I didn't crop this entirely correctly. Let's do that. A little live editing, it's not a big deal. That's close to centered. All right. We all know there's some salt around the War of the Lions content jobs not returning. We also have claimed 20 plus jobs from the initial reveal, which is likely including unique character jobs. Oh, almost certainly. What are two Final Fantasy jobs you'd want to see come in as surprise replacements for Onion Knight and Dark Knight in Ivalice Chronicles? Bonus if it's one off the Squire tree and one off the Chemist tree. See, here's the thing. I never like wanting jobs. I kind of just like to appreciate what's there. With 14, it's a bit different than it is with like a single player game, because I can name a ton of jobs that aren't in Tactics that would be kind of cool to see. But Tactics is in a unique place because the jobs that they largely have there, they're very derivative of the type of game that it is. And my inspirations pull from games that are not tactical RPGs. So I like to see when Ivalice does things that makes sense in Ivalice, if that makes sense. And I don't think I'm in tune enough with the Ivalice, all the Ivalice games to make a recommendation on that front. I just like to see. I don't know. I don't really have any wants. I'm just glad to have the remake / remaster with voiced scenes. Like, I don't care about the War of the Lions. When I last played Tactics, that's what I played. I played War of the Lions. I'm not going to be missing any of that, like, personally. I'm here for the voice acting, for the additional scenes. Like, I've played a million RPGs. I'm not going to throw a fit over a couple of jobs not being there and some extra content that, while neat, like having, Balthier, for example, and the other one that I've already forgotten the name of because clearly didn't mean that much to me. It's just not that important. It's kind of similar to me with the Pixel remasters. Like, I can see the argument, absolutely, for the Pixel remasters, especially the GBA extra content, bonus jobs for some of them, except for Final Fantasy 3, which I think Final Fantasy 3 is like that is a definitive version of 3. There's no way I'm missing the Iron Giant from the 3D version. There's no way I'm missing anything from the 3D version, to be quite frank. But yeah, it's kind of a similar vein here, but there is something more added that isn't just another remaster. of the game, and I'm more invested in that than I am in a couple of jobs. It just doesn't matter enough to me for me to be like, oh yeah, they should do this instead, or they should go. I don't care. It's not the reason why I'm playing it. Before we get started, the sponsor of this video is Magic Spoon. They make high-protein cereal, snack bars, and granola, and we've been working with them for quite some time. It all tastes great, and honestly, it helps me when my snackometer is going off. And yeah, I get a little snacky. I've been eating their products for years now, and I get excited every time a new box pops up. This latest one came packed with some delicious treat bars and some scrumptious granola. I'm always glad to have a high-protein option around, whether it be right after I get back from the gym, or honestly, sometimes I just want to avoid traditional snacks. If you'd like to try Magic Spoon while also supporting the channel, then click the link below to get some today. Build your own custom box of products with tons of available flavors to match your daily needs. Best of all, use my link and discount code Mrhappy to get $5 off of your box. You can also buy it at your local grocery store, even on Amazon if you prefer. And if you don't like it, Magic Spoon has a 100% happiness guarantee. Let them know and they'll refund you, no questions asked. So click the link below or scan the QR code on the screen and use code Mrhappy to get $5 off, or go to magicspoon.com/Mrhappy to save $5 on your order. It even works in Canada and the UK. Thanks again to Magic Spoon for sponsoring, and now back to the video. There was a comment above this one asking for my hair care regimen. It's just only wash your hair like every few days. That's literally it. I don't do anything to this. I don't do anything. I don't have skincare. I don't have this. The most I do is take my multivitamin, which I haven't taken actually today. I'm going to take that between this question and the next one. So let me get those out. Hashtag Mrhappy Mondays. Hi, hello, hey, hi. I'm doing all right. You doing all right? You doing all right? Please update us on a very important issue from last week. Did you find out what dropped out of your pocket? Well, I knew what it was, so I'm a bit dumb. So for my blood pressure medication, I cut the pills in half. And I don't have a pill cutter here, so I go downstairs and I like grab a knife and I just hold it from both ends and I snap it in the middle. What I wasn't doing, or what I didn't do that day, is I didn't bring the bottle down with me to put the unused half in the bottle immediately. I put it in my pocket. So I had it in my pocket and I was like, oh, I should really put that in the bottle. But instead I started recording because, again, I'm dumb. So at one point I reached into my pocket and didn't feel it there. And so because there's 5 cats in the house, the last thing I want is blood pressure medication on the ground and they can find it. So I locked the door and I made sure that it wasn't there. Turns out it was on my desk. I had taken it out of my pocket at some point, and it was under something I had moved while looking for it on my desk. So yeah, it was very important to me, because like the last thing I want, is anything along that line happening. And I like to say that I think about the next thing more than the thing I'm doing at the moment. It's a big problem of mine. It's why some of my video projects kind of go unfinished. It's why the verses take so long, because I think about doing it, and then I think of the other thing I could be doing once I start working on the verse, and I get that done instead. It's always been a hindrance to me, but I've lived my life this way. I suppose it'll be fine. Just it wouldn't have been fine in that case. Hashtag Mondays with Mrhappy. Greetings and salutations, and extra hello if anyone has missed one. Hi. After the interview with Matsuno and so I actually did read this interview. I've noticed that a lot of people were screaming about the missing War. Okay, so I'm going to be clear. If I see these in the future, if I keep seeing the War of the Lions thing, I'm probably going to just skip the question, because there's only so much I can really say. This is what Matsuno's true vision of what Tactics was meant to be, and while I enjoyed War of the Lions on the PSP, the additions weren't exactly revolutionary. No, they weren't, and I feel that way about a lot of bonus content. That's why the Pixel Remaster example was big for me. There's no way I'm missing Chronodia from Final Fantasy 1 from, I think that's the 30th anniversary edition. No, maybe it's 25th anniversary. It's one of the anniversary. There's the anniversary edition, then there's Dawn of Souls, and I forget which one has which. Dawn of Souls, I think, is the one that has the 4 other bonus dungeons, like Whisperwind Cove and stuff. And I don't really care about those either, to be completely fair. It's just a way to make me fight. It's effectively a way to force me to play that particular game longer by just shoving in other Final Fantasy bosses. Final Fantasy 2's postgame is the one that actually makes the most sense, but it's Final Fantasy 2, so why would I want to play more? Final Fantasy 3, I've already said. Final Fantasy 4, there's so many definitive versions. That one I totally get when people don't want to buy the Pixel Remaster. Because there's just the PSP version of that is literally like, I think it probably looks better. It has everything. It even has After Years, which is not a good thing, but it's there. 5, the advanced jobs, like, yeah, they're cool, but like I don't really care about Sealed Temple. It's kind of annoying in my opinion. And then 6, it's like the dragons. Like I don't care. You know, it's just not enough for me to really care. They're not, yeah, they're not revolutionary. Getting Dark Knight was more akin to a 2.0 relic grind than actual job, and less said about the Onion Knight is better. I think I kind of covered my thoughts on that, but I think that this expansion of the thoughts and how I feel about even the Pixel Remaster bonus content is a lot different. It's weird because there are Final Fantasy games where if bonus content were to be missed. So, like, I mean, great example, Final Fantasy VII. Did you know the North American version of Final Fantasy VII is where they added fights other than the Ultimate Weapon fight? Ultimate Weapon was the extra boss. Ruby and Emerald weren't there until the North American release. Can you imagine playing a version of Final Fantasy VII without those two? Is it still really Final Fantasy VII? Yeah, but they're pretty iconic in their entry into the game. But that's also how we initially got it. It wasn't like a bonus re-release content later. Final Fantasy VIII, they've never done anything extra to 8. I don't remember if the Japanese version didn't have Omega as a boss. 9, yeah, like maybe it's because the later versions, like 10 and 12. Trial mode, 12 without trial mode, I could do it, but trial mode is great for a lot of things. Even in a casual playthrough, just going through the early floors of trial mode is so incredibly useful. And 10 International, both the Expert Sphere Grid, because I preferred the smaller Sphere Grid over the bigger one, and the customization of it. Like, those to me are more substantial updates to me than, let's say, the Dark Aeons and Penance weren't there. Oh no. Like, do I really care if the Dark Aeons and Penance aren't there? Honestly, Dark Yojimbo's the only one I'd miss, because he's how I get my ribbon armor without having to farm as much. You know? But they don't, to me, they're not like defining experiences, you know? It's really more the main system quality of life and even story additions like we're getting in the Tactics Ivalice Chronicles that matter to me more than being able to grind out a couple of extra jobs and have a couple of extra characters that have a separate scenario. It's just not significant enough to me. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, hi, hello, woof, bark. That's not right. Anyway, so really not a question. It's more of a what do you think? But do you think we get a single-player mainline Final Fantasy game that goes back to the job system? I think it's a foregone conclusion, actually. They wanted to do jobs in 16, but decided that doing jobs and the summons wasn't a good idea to do both. It was just too much overlapping. That tells me that we will probably get jobs. If CBU 3 is in charge, that they will probably want to do jobs in the next one, whatever it is. I also would like to say that you do have Stranger of Paradise, which while the job system isn't entirely the same, it is quite a satisfying one that does allow for a decent amount of customization and advancement throughout the game. So if you haven't played Stranger of Paradise, I would recommend it. I think they didn't realize that they made it such a meme that it went all the way from being ridiculously stupid back to being amazing. And Jack is genuinely like a favorite amongst the community, both for his attitude and character and his character advancement. It's crazy how he swung around the other way. So we do like Jack. And so if you're looking for another game with a kind of job system, that's one that does kind of fit the bill. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. How you doing, Haps? Hi. Been away 14, only single player games for a minute to focus on working out. Was wondering, what do I need to go to the gym? My job has me from 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Been itching to catch back up in my head after progging M1 and I clearly wasn't ready. I'm currently on a 3-day workout split, which is great. I don't think anyone should downplay a 3-day workout split. You can live a perfectly healthy, building a better you life on a 3-day. You don't need to be in there 5-6 days a week. I don't care what anyone says. Getting 10 to 12K steps, getting my protein goals met, and am in a deficit. I'm down by almost 25 pounds. I feel my workouts are too limited. If you are seeing results, there's no reason to think what you're doing is limited. Now, if you're getting bored of what you're doing, that's when you start doing research stuff. Missed the moving arc, but it looks like you've been adjusting to it. Well, oh, the moving. I was like, what's the moving arc? Oh, no, the moving, like, my arc of my character. Yeah, no, if what you're doing is working and you're kind of hitting what are considered the live a healthy life, but not let your health be your obsession, kind of middle ground. A 3-day workout split is as good as anyone needs to be healthy, to be fit, especially if you're seeing results from it. Getting 10 to 12K steps helps keep your caloric deficit manageable without a major physical activity demand. And you're meeting your eating goals. I think there's a, and I think it's easy because I've certainly fallen into it. It's easy to forget that being healthy doesn't mean looking like social media people. I don't look like social media people without all of this. I mean, it helps being natural. It's kind of hard to look like all of that unless you're like really living and breathing it. And I'm not. It's a consistent part of my life. And right now I'm doing 3 or 4 days a week because I'm still just getting back into the gym and I don't want to throw my body at it when I don't fully know what my body's going through after everything that has happened. I would say that it just sounds like you're getting bored of what you're doing and you just need to look up some new workouts and try them. That's it. I wouldn't change anything. Results are results. You don't need to speed them up. You don't need to do anything massively different. You just need to be healthy. That is the most important thing at the end of the day. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, Happy. Hi. Hope the move and all that went well. It did. My random question is actually about Ivy and the transition from being a lone cat while being in a place with multiple. I know you used to have 2, so Ivy's been around another cat, but it has been a bit of time. How did Ivy and the other cats react? So the other cats were, so there's a lot of cats here. And I would say that they've all individually just kind of exhibited their traits that they already had at her. And she's just responded by kind of latching more on to people. It really depends on the mood. One of the cats, Bacon, he's young, he's very playful, and he pisses the other cats off because of it. Ivy, he can chase around for a while, and it's kind of okay, but because that's kind of their main thing, she doesn't really get along with him in any sort of like casual setting. Cinnamon is very like kind of standoffish to new. So when she first got here, he was also, you know, kind of giving her a hard time. Sausage is kind of chill. It depends. If Ivy's not in the mood, her and Sausage get along fine. If she's been riled up by the other cats, then she'll swipe Sausage away and be like, leave me alone. Temmie doesn't know anything. Like, Temmie just exists. Ivy gets along with Temmie fine, but Temmie just tries to exist and doesn't really like interact very much with anyone other than people, which is I think why her and Ivy get along, why him and Ivy get along, because they both just don't really focus on each other and they never have to really consider each other's presence all that much. They just kind of consider, are there people here? And then that's the end of it. And then Bacon, Sausage, Cinnamon, yeah, no, that's all of them. That's all the cats. And I'd say it's been okay. She just mostly latches onto people, and that's because she's only had me for a while. But it's definitely tough. She was also introduced really fast. Ivy didn't really want to hide or stay away from the other cat. She kind of just instantly became an adventurer when she got here, and it kind of forced her to interact with the cats sooner than she probably should have. In most cases, keep a cat locked in a room for a while, slowly introduce them to other cats, and you may have a better experience, but it's all about personality. You know, you throw 5 people in a house, and if none of their personalities match, you know, even if you can kind of coexist, there's going to be some conflict. And that's kind of basically what just happened here. Especially if they haven't lived with a cat for a while. Introducing a kitten can be especially rough. It's so case to case, no one can tell you how it will go. Some cats instantly latch on, they see a kitten, they're like, I must take care of this small cat to the best of my ability. And some are like, oh, kids. You have no idea. So it's one of those, all you can do is try and do your best. And if they don't super get along, just try to make sure that that it's not harmful to each other. And that's as good as you can do. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Merch. Hi, Haps. Hi. An extra for any who's inevitably rude. How you doing? I'm doing alright. And I can't read confirmed. First time question, long time viewer. Did Square Enix HGP ever say why they wait so long to unlock the fights in the current Savage tier? So I don't think they've ever explicitly said it, but as a consumer and as a longtime player of MMOs, I can tell you the reason is monthly subscriptions. If you feel like you need to log in weekly in order to make progress in the game, it keeps you subscribed longer. It's a classic thing. It's been that case for decades. There is a bit of a logic as well in terms of if it were unlimited, players would grind it out and be done. I think with 14, that's only half true. I think a lot of people like when the fights are unlimited so they can actually go do the fights with anyone all the time. PF warriors, basically, who go in and just, they don't care if they're doing M5S for 7 hours straight. They're going to see how the parties are. They're going to maybe help some people with some clears, and it opens those things up. And I think 14 is more like that, which is why we have more of a demand. I think we also have more jobs and more individual gear sets that we actually want to gear. So that limited system kind of works against the addition of new jobs and the 7 different armor sets that we have. So I think it's a clash. I think the reasons are very obvious. They just don't match the current design of Final Fantasy XIV. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps. Hi. Hope you're having a good day. It's still early. It's like 9 a.m. But hopefully it'll be a good one. Caught up on Blue Mage and have 2 questions. Do you think they'll ever release more than 1 stage again? You mean in the Mass Carnival? I don't think so. At most 2, but no, I don't think they'll do more than 1. I think they just want that singular challenge. And am I crazy or does Goldor have an absurd amount of health? I feel like I'm doing something wrong. I don't remember him having any more than I felt like he needed to have. Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't remember any of the challenges feeling like they had too much health, but that could just be me. It's a bonus question. Do you think Beastmaster will have something like the Carnival? I do. I think there's going to be some Beastmaster exclusive content that only they can do. The question is, we need to know the design of it before we can really guess, because I want Beastmaster to straight up be turn-based Pokemon battles. Like, that's it. I straight up just want that. And then you can carry like X number of them on them, and then there's NPCs to challenge around and stuff like that. And they add like new things on the map where you can see where you can actually go and do Beastmaster battles, like where there's like wild areas for them. That's never going to happen. But just to be clear, never going to happen. But that would be what I want. And then the Carnival would be more like, like a place where you battle other NPCs and even other players should you so want. Won't happen, but maybe. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello. I haven't eaten those vitamins yet. I've been holding them the same time this whole time and using them as like stress balls. I've been doing like this the whole time. I appreciate all your vids and content you do, so thank you. You're welcome. And hi. Hopefully a quick question with a quick answer. Does SteelSeries have a good MMO mouse with 12 thumb buttons? Yes, they do. The Aerox 9, the Aerox, it's a wireless, but you can also wire it in. If you used it before, what's your opinion? I mean, it's like being at home. I'm a huge fan of their old Rival 500 model, which was the ergonomic design that had 8 buttons. I didn't think I would like it, but I fell in love with it. So when they stopped doing it, it was a little upset. But most of us grew up on the Razer Naga. That was our first MMO mouse. That's what we're used to. And that's kind of the industry standard. So when they released the Aerox 9 and I started using it, I was like, oh, I'm right back at home again. Even with smaller hands, I can pretty easily do it. At first, it was a little awkward for me just because I haven't used a 12-button mouse in a while. The front buttons especially, because my hands aren't super big. But it's fine now. I just had to get used to holding it again. Turned out my hand just forgot how to hold it. Since I tie my action to MMO mouse and I have a heavy touch, I tend to wear them out after a year. So to be clear, the Aerox 9 I am currently using is a new one, only because I didn't want to pack my old one. But my old one I got from the Aerox 9's initial launch, and it lasted with basically no problems all the way up until I moved when I left it behind. And then I got a new Aerox 9. I don't remember how long of a period of time was. I think I got my Aerox 9. I think I got it like 2 days before DSR came out. So between 2 days before DSR and like a month ago, as of recording this, I used it with no problems. I will say one big thing, if you want to clean it, if you're someone with cats or you get a lot of dust, because it's like a mesh design so your hand doesn't get sweaty, you can just take the thing off the actual the grid and hit it with a quick spray, and that normally does the trick. You don't even honestly have to remove the grid, but it does give the dust more of a place to escape from. So that would be my recommendation, be the Aerox 9. If you like wired, just leave it plugged in. That's what I do. If you prefer wireless, it comes with a dongle, and you can do it like that. Just don't forget to charge it before raid night. That's why I don't do wireless, because I will forget. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Oh, no, hello, no. Question for Marker Dance versus Macros. As someone who very rarely does raid type content, one thing I do not understand recently is why the Marker Dance exists, but players have assigned spots like T1, T2, H1, H2. This person gets it. They just get it. Like, wait, don't we always do that? It's literally just because some people want to like claim one of the 2 spots or claim like East or West. Like they're like, oh, I only ever do West as the healer, so let me try and get West right away. Which is the happen where raid plan lists out spots as being specific to a certain role, which is fine, I understand. But when you do a marker dance, you can easily swap around what positions are going where. You're setting up for the fight. My question is, since NA does not do macro spots, why do people get thrown off when you pick XYZ spot and remember where you go while not using macros? Feels obtuse as someone who hops in from time to time. What is the point of dancing in the first place if your spot is determined from the very first marker? They get it. I don't even need to answer the question. You clearly just get it. Like, this is a good thing. I only need every other North American player to get it. Because you're right. This is why the macros are so easy. Because you just pick the spot and all your spots are determined. Now, in theory, the marker dance should work the same way. Pick a spot and it's the same. Now, I will say that people really like flexing in a sense of like, maybe you get like a triple melee or something, or you get triple ranged, and a ranged has to be a pseudo melee. For them, it's a kind of okay reminder, but it still works the same, where basically people have the macro, they know the macro, they just type a spot. Honestly, I think the macros are better to have for a number of reasons. But I think the reason for macros is actually going to diminish slightly when the raid planner eventually comes out, because the raid planner, they're trying to make it so you can just have it up during battle, and then your spot is on the screen at all times, and then you don't even need the marker either. Like, it might actually completely undo the need for all of that stuff, because it's effectively going to achieve what the macro achieves by making sure that if everyone in the group makes sure they have the same raid plan, they don't even need the marker. And even if they can just say, oh, I'm this on the raid planner, and be done. Like, I think the raid planner, if it is done well, will be one of the single biggest additions to the raid scene. Having it up on the screen during the entire fight is a huge thing. Not everyone's great at like looking over to another monitor. Not everyone even has 2 monitors. So this may actually be just such a lower problem. Now that we've actually seen what they want to do with it, I'm more excited and way more optimistic, because they totally understood the assignment, that if they half-cocked it, it was a failure. And I'm so glad, because that's the duty recorder to me. It was half-cocked and it's a failure, and I don't know why they even bother updating it. So yeah, but you got it. For the way it is now, you clearly understand. It's a very question-dense video. Hashtag Mondays with Jules from Final Fantasy VII Remake. Hi, Jules. Hi, Haps. Hi. Hope you're having a great weekend and keep working on those games. Well, right now, I'm just trying to get back what I lost, because I feel a lot weaker. Recently got my M8S clear after a lot of on and off prograts. The most frustrating mechanic this year was, of course, ads phase from M6, which took me several weeks to get through in PF. We started raiding in Endwalker, so I'm curious if there's ever been a mechanic with a bigger roadblock. Go back to A Realm Reborn and Heaven's Ward, and there are fights entirely that will break statics. This is the first fight that's kind of been like that in a long time. The second fight in Midas, the third fight in Gordius. Honestly, quite a few fights throughout second and final coil were a big problem for a lot of people, especially for our average skill level back then. And then I'm sure there's been a few others. I mean, I know Phoenix was a big stopping point for a lot of people in Asphodelos, for example. Abyssos, Abyssos was the tree. Not really. The tree was a little bit of a stopping point for people who, just because it could be a pretty major mechanic check that lasts like 30%, really screwed people. But also, of course, Hephaestus was a huge problem. So yeah, there's definitely been a handful. Pandemonium, even last expansion at the end, the P10 fight. But a bigger roadblock, yeah, you really have to go back to A Realm Reborn and Heaven's Ward to get bigger roadblocks, as opposed to equal or slightly below roadblocks. Hashtag Mondays with Mrhappy. Sup. See, sometimes hellos can be simple like that. The raid plan on the horizon, I want to shoot an idea by you. Several weeks or a month after raid comes out, the community for that region votes on what would be the example raid plan for that raid. That's basically the sticky version. No, I don't think that's wise. I understand, because at first I was like, oh yeah, the community would hopefully agree on one that's standard, or usually it's 1 or 2. But to sticky it in the app, I don't think that's a good idea. I think at this point, it'll as long as they do it correctly, it'll be easy enough to share. To the point where stickying it, I don't think that's a wise. I don't even think it's a net negative or net positive. I think that, especially, okay, so in North America, it's rarely one strat, right? It's normally 1 or 2, usually with slight variances. If there's any variance at all, then having the sticky it'd be like, you know what it actually would remind me of? It would remind me of like when I did A Realm Reborn guides. All I did was take whatever we did to beat the fight, like the first few times, and like farm it 10, 15, 20 times. I would just make that the guide. They were never meant to be the best thing you could be doing, but people hard enforced it back then for no good reason. It'd be like if my guide was stickied, or my raid plan for what those guides would have been were stickied. That's not a good thing, because most of the community was doing those when there were clearly better strats that had been developed. And then people would harass me, which is what it kind of boils back down to. And if you sticky it and it's like something that's kind of silly and there's like better strats out there, people do the same thing now. They still, not even actively harass, but they spend enough time online saying not so great things about the people making them. I think that it's probably a net negative for that reason. Just thinking about that scenario being introduced and being made standard more so than the community already makes it now, it seems like a net negative. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey Haps, hi. Hope all is going well and getting settled. It is. Curious if you know what the plan for the future Occult Crescent in relation to Phantom Jobs. There should be 3 more Phantom Jobs in 7.4x and then 6 more Phantom Jobs with the second zone in 7.5x. I'm doing that from memory. I think that's what they told us, but I'd have to double check. We'll get new Phantom Jobs in later patches. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, who's to know? Maybe they will expand the current ones, but there was no indication of that. And, yeah, pretty much all the jobs already be found in 5. Probably all of the jobs will be from Final Fantasy 5. I don't think they're going to pull any non-Final Fantasy 5 jobs in for the remainder of them. All the current ones are Final Fantasy 5 based, so I expect that to continue to be the case. What's my favorite Phantom job? I mean, right now it's Oracle. I love Starfall. I love gambling. Let's do it. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hi, Happy. Hi. I'm sure this is well known, but I can't seem to find any reference, and I'm clueless or curious. Why the move? Are you still on the West Coast? Oh, I moved in with my girlfriend, with Spoofy. Yeah, we didn't want to live 3,000 miles away from each other. So we both fortunately do something where we can move if we need to. And I didn't have anything in California I really wanted to stay for. I was only there because of circumstance. And, you know, getting out of there was already well on my list of things to do. It was going to happen this year no matter what. So I'm glad that this is how it happened, though. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. No hello again? Unfortunate. Do you think that to complete the story of Occult Crescent, you'll have to complete the Fort Towers like BA and Eureka, or in Bozier where you did not have Savage? I don't think you'll need Fort Tower Blood. Fort Tower Blood has some good lore indications, but everything you really need to know about Fort Tower Blood is told to you by the final quest after you unlock it, not even after you beat it. So you probably have a better understanding of the lore, but because it looks like Fort Tower Magic, based on community feedback, is actually going to have a CLL equivalent, it might be the case for Fort Tower Magic, but it will be at a difficulty where everyone can do it like CLL and Dalriada. The Savage version wouldn't have its own specific story additions on top of that. So it's a maybe, but as of right now, no. Hashtag Monday with Mr. Happy. Hi. Hope all is well. Doing good. Hope this won't be a bad question. I see a ton of threads on Reddit about mid-core content. Do you think the map meta in Guild Wars 2 could be some sort of mid-core content for 14? Feel they are more involved than CE, like the Octavine requiring people to coordinate attacks through map chat or Fort Gates. Those, I'm not going to lie, of all the reasons that I would want to play Guild Wars 2 again, the world events are not one of the reasons. I suppose simply to occupy time while you're playing the game and have, you know, a chance at earning rewards, it's fine. But, like, I don't want to fight the same boss every 2 hours. Like, I don't want to I don't want to do that in 14 either. I don't want to PF and just fight bosses, the same boss. Like, that's why I don't PF raid. It's like, I beat it for the week. Like, maybe I just kind of want to PF a little bit, but I don't want to just spend all my time fighting the same, like, 4 bosses. Guild Wars 2, when you end up doing that, you end up just kind of rotating around the map and hitting those objectives whenever they're available. But Guild Wars 2 also, I haven't kept up with the gear progression as of late, but I've always had a really weird feeling where in Guild Wars 2, getting me to progress my character has always felt terrible, which sucks because I actually enjoy doing a fair number of the things that are there, and I feel like even if you're not super skilled, you can generally participate in at least most of the things that happen in the overworld. But, sorry. It's just, the reason for doing it just kind of sucks, or it did in the past. Again, I won't speak for the current Guild Wars 2. So it's having more involved bosses in the world would probably be nice. And I know when you're saying map meta, you're probably also including, you know, the jump puzzles or finding all of the nodes, which can appeal to some people. It can feel really overwhelming and annoying to others. So that's kind of like hit or miss. It's one of those things where if you tie it so much to Prague, there's a lot of people who may feel like they don't even want to do it. And then there's people who are like, this is the greatest thing I've ever had. I love just completing maps all over the world. And it just depends on how much it's actually integrated into your character strength. So that was what I actually hated Heart of Thorns for, the way they did that in particular. That was like really the last time I even played, even though I heard the other expansions afterwards were significantly better. And the Living Stories from that point onward were also really good as well. So yeah, I don't know. It really depends on what the player base you actively have seems to engage in doing. So I think it's more like they would want to try it first. and then go from there. So maybe like in a field op, they focus more on a map meta style gameplay. Maybe even do that over multiple maps and try to encourage people to work on that. I mean, they do kind of have it in field ops. It's not quite the same. But yeah, it's a maybe. I think it doesn't need, that's not even mid-core. That's more like that's kind of casual content because of its approachability. I think there's maybe like 1 or 2 bosses that I know of in Guild Wars 2 that start to approach mid-core, and honestly, it's just because there's so many people that need to be doing at least something minimum to make sure that we don't die, that it's just, there's a chance of failure. But it's not even like a hard fight so much as there's just a responsibility that enough people have to be doing. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello. Hi. What would you think about adding the ability to set or have options to add different limit breaks as either single target or AoE as DPS? Are you saying different animations? Because I don't see the point of that. We could change from tank stance to DPS stance coming back, or other jobs. No, those are never happening. There's a big reason why those are never coming back. The way the community was around those systems and the use of them and the incorrect or correct use of them was not great. No, that's not. Or other jobs being able to have multiple roles. There's no point. We get more jobs. Like, would I say no to a paladin healer? No. Do I think it's integral to our game? No. We have so many jobs as it is, and then you need 2 gear sets potentially for the same job. The reason why we don't have specs is because you can do everything on one character, and you can basically fill every role. So other than job fantasy, there's no logical reason to have one job be able to fill multiple roles. Every job is AoE now, so being able to tank as a Dragoon isn't that far-fetched as one might think. I used Dragoon as an example, remembering a Realm Reborn days that had higher armor than other DPS. Well, they had higher physical defense. Their magic defense was a problem until 2.45. This would make queues quicker if you wanted a job level that could change what role. So you say that, but most people don't just go with the role that will get them the fastest queue. A lot of people are intimidated by the tank and healer role. So for them, that's still not an option. Most people like playing DPS. So it's a limited case that I don't think is worth the amount of investment. Is it a bad thing? No. If they did it, I'd be like, okay, that's what they're deciding to do. That's interesting. We'll see how it pans out. Would I, on paper, be like, oh yeah, that's a great idea? No. I think that the way our game is built, it's effectively just, if you don't really want to level a job, or it's intimidating, or you're struggling, there's so many like systems that you can use that won't be inhibited by lack of healers. Just do your daily roulette, or do your daily, tribe quests, your hunts. Like, there's enough systems in the game that support getting around those problems. Heck, you could even just use duty support if you really wanted to. So no, I don't think it would. I wouldn't make it a priority. It'd have to be one of those things they had kind of decided, and then we'd have to see how it goes. Before this, there was a hashtag that gave a couple of extra hellos. So that covers the people who didn't do it. Why did that go down? Hashtag Monday with the man with 6 cats, 5 cats. Hiya Haps. Hi. My main question is, what was the diadem before it was reworked in Shadowbringers? So all the buzz about Occult Crescent, I heard about the odd rumbling of old content, never got a chance to play it. Diadem was a giant zone where you would kill monsters to spawn bosses, and then a super boss would spawn in the middle. It was 3 minor bosses that had to be defeated in order to defeat the boss that was in the middle of it. And yeah, you really wasn't much you could do if it started going awry. The bosses needed to be kept separate. There were ads that needed to be controlled, and if the boss in the middle ever fully released, then it was GG at that point. So you really had to make sure those 3 outer bosses were controlled. It did not go well. The reward structure also had random loot, pink loot with random stats on it. And even though you could get stuff that was higher item level, it was at the end of the expansion where the higher item level was completely irrelevant. It was during a time we didn't have like ultimates or something where that loot might have been valuable if you wanted to grind it out. In theory, it wasn't the worst thing, but it was so one note that nobody really cared. It was also a hybrid zone of combat and gathering, but they didn't really interact with each other. They just kind of could do both. So most of the time people just gathered there. And that's why they eventually made it the gathering and crafting thing for Ishgard Resto. So yeah, it's like the beta version of the other field ops. All right, and the last question, or the last one I'm going to take before I just kind of roll through what some of the things I scrolled past were, hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. How are you doing, Haps? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. First off, your hair is majestic as hell. Don't get used to it. Although I know what I want my hair to look like after the haircut, so maybe you can enjoy that as well. Second, do you ever foresee Square Enix allowing the game to take more risks? I think the main thing has been driving a lot of people away from the game is that it's too predictable. I'll get into more about that. We just think that different flavors of the same thing over and over. I'm going to blow your mind. That's how all MMOs work. All of them, like Final Fantasy 11 is literally the same thing, and then they change like one thing over and over again, because the core game is always going to be the same. Even if you start altering the rules, the core game is always going to feel the same. Although, unless you're referring to like new raid, new alliance raid, blah, yeah, then that's obvious. Well, I've gotten some new things like the Phantom Job system, graphics updates. It doesn't feel like revolutionary. It's never going to feel revolutionary because you are playing Final Fantasy IV. This is a big thing that people struggle with. The game is never going to fundamentally change beyond what you already experience. You may get new things within that experience, but it's never going to fundamentally become something that it isn't. I hate comparing it to WoW. They could take some inspiration from changes they've made during their last few expansions. Dragonflight made fun and new way to get around the map. Okay, this is true, but the real question is anyone going, I'm just subscribing for Dragonflight, for this quality? No, it comes down to the content, the raids, that's what keeps people. Dragonflight is like a small distraction away from the core rest of the game. Is it cool to have? Sure. Would it be nice to get something like that? Absolutely. It's a little more engaging, but it does not in any way come off. And also, WoW took that from a different game, which is fine. That's a good idea. But they didn't revolutionize that, and it wasn't revolutionary to WoW. It was a neat thing that you could do with flying. And yeah, then they added flying challenges, and they supported it. But it's still the core idea of it doesn't make WoW better. It just makes that one activity within WoW better. Warthen added the Delve system, which allows anyone to get max level gear completely solo. Don't even get me started on housing, even the most... Okay, the housing in 14. We don't know if housing in WoW is actually going to be good yet. We've only heard some early previews and a bunch of promises. Blizzard has a bit of a reputation, although they have been doing better in recent years. We can mount while moving, and we can jog. Yeah, we got a couple of new... I mean, we got other system updates other than that, but they're meant to slightly improve the experience, not, again, like you said, revolutionize it. Can't act like I haven't liked a lot of the parts of this X-Pack. New raids are phenomenal. This first time I've interacted with Extreme and Savage content. Story isn't as good as Shadowbringers. I can see the potential, especially at the end of 7.2. I'm still a very new player and they only started near the beginning of Endwalker, so I'm not ignorant to a lot of things. It seems like the game adds any changes that alters how a person plays. Yeah, really only Field Ops and Deep Dungeons kind of do that, and if you haven't done them, A, we have a new one coming out, B, you'll probably want to go back and do the old ones, because Deep Dungeon does feel like a completely different way of playing 14. No matter how much you think you know, Deep Dungeon forces you to learn more and understand more about how the game works and how individual enemies work, and it kind of knowledge and moment-to-moment decision checks you more than most other things do. So I think it's more about supporting what I call what's content islands, where the core way the game plays is the same, but the systems around it force you to approach it differently. Cosmic Exploration missed the mark on that a little bit, just because the bonus actions are so non-integral to the initial planet's experiences, whereas things like Phantom Jobs, or the Bosia Lost actions, or the Eureka actions, and stuff like that, they're all very gameplay altering, and they force you to just play the game differently in those areas. But those need to coexist with the regular content that we have. It's about frequency and it's about support to those systems. Then it's about player interest as well. There are definitely, if you started playing at the beginning of Endwalker, there are probably gameplay systems you haven't engaged with that you might find, oh, I really like this. I wish they would do more of that. So that's another thing with new players. I highly recommend that you kind of explore the old stuff to see about those like different communities, Palace of the Dead solo communities, or Deep Dungeon solo communities, even just getting groups together to do stuff like that. Old relic grinds, like you may just find things that they've done before that can kind of build your constructive feedback a lot more, instead of just waiting for something revolutionary. Sometimes the new needs to learn from the old, and sometimes the new needs to see what was good about the old and see what they could kind of take on and iterate for that. So I think 14 has a different concern that is not the predictability. I don't think the predictability is even the problem. I think it is the cadence of the content's release and the timing of the content's release within that cadence. Ever since I went to the 19-week cycle, we've had a major uptick in endgame raid content, Criterions, new deep dungeons, really high quality raids, ultimates. And now whenever one of those things isn't there, like with 7.3 with the ultimate, it stands out because people who just want that. They don't care about a new deep dungeon. They're like, that's like a day or two's worth of content, because they are like, not like, I want to do the solo, I want to try this, even though there's a new boss, which should actually be engaging to people. And I will be progging I'll call it world progging the Deep Dungeon 99 Savage boss when it comes out, especially because we don't have an ultimate. I definitely want to do that. It's just still not quite the same thing. We've seen a lot of good come out of Dawn Trail. It's just there's an overabundance of content that is too basically derivative of what we already have. Like, yeah, Chaotic is cool, but it's a Savage raid for 24 people. So, you know, while it is really cool, it's maybe not exactly what the entire game needs. Same with the Deep Dungeon, another leveling method, another soul come. It's got a lot of value to the community, but is it something that everyone will engage into that level? Not particularly. A lot of people say, like, no, ultimate game dead. I think the problem is we need content that is achievable by everyone more consistently, that then has layers later on that appeal to people like us. It may not be the most challenging thing. It may not take a week or two to prog like an ultimate does, but I don't think it needs to personally. You want as many people as possible within your game to want to engage with its systems. Minimum, I'd say 25% of the community you generally want to engage in the majority of new content you put out, and then you put out some stuff that less people will be engaged with, but they keep building portions of your game. They support the people who support those portions. New field ops support all the discords that do things like BA and DRS already. And new Deep Dungeons support the communities that really revolve around that content and kind of pushing it to its limit while giving them a brand new experience, which then spreads that content and maybe gets people who are newer back into the old, and it kind of works in reverse. There's a lot of really interesting things that end up happening when we get new features, but the immediate response is not everyone going, oh my god, this is the greatest thing ever, which is fine. People got to speak their mind. People got to provide feedback. And honestly, I think people are actually getting better at it. It's crazy. Yes, there's a bit of hyperbole with Dawn Trail especially, but I have seen a lot more level-headed takes, especially in comment sections, about why people want certain things and actually explaining it out, even if they're still like overly passionate. I am getting a better idea of how a lot of people are thinking, and that's a good thing at the end of the day. All right, that was the last real question. There's someone just asking if like NA reads PFs anymore. They never did, to be fair. I got called Lord Farquaad. Correct. Listen, if he wasn't small, he'd be a good-looking guy. Not that he can't be small and a good-looking guy, but he's meme status because he's yay tall. Let's be honest. His face otherwise, he's got a Chad face. We all know he's got a Chad face. There's just a few other like basic comments and like thank yous and stuff like that. The Sunderfolk shout out. Yeah, Sunderfolk was really cool. I wouldn't mind playing it a little bit more. I'm doing more Power World actually right now with Sophie and our roommate. So yeah, that's actually been fun. I've forgotten a lot about Power World. Not to mention there's a bunch of new stuff and a Terraria collaboration coming out. And yeah, I think that's it. So thanks everyone for watching this week's episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. If you have a question, be sure to ask it in the comment section below. Next week's, so big thing. If you have a question, you have to ask it before Friday. I'm going on vacation Saturday through Tuesday. If I record the Q&A on Friday, I can post the Q&A on Monday. If I don't, you're not getting one on Monday. It'll be a Wednesdays with Mr. Happy at the earliest, maybe even later. So we'll see. But anyway, that is going to be a wrap for this week's episode. Thank you for watching. Be sure to check out the sponsor links like Steel Series and the Patreon, which again, there's no paywalled content, but it's always appreciated. And with that, I will see you next week. Maybe. Until then, bye-bye.